The emperor issued an edict for the legitimate daughter of the Jiyu family to become the crown princess. Everyone believed that the person marrying into the Eastern Palace would surely be me, the legitimate daughter of the Jiyu household. To my surprise, father registered his adopted daughter, Jiyu Qingguan, under my mother's name, making her the legitimate eldest daughter, so she could enter the Eastern Palace as the crown princess. Father said Qingguan is an adopted daughter. It is a misfortune. She cannot marry someone of lower status than you. Otherwise, wouldn't outsiders say I am biased? Furthermore, her status is naturally low. If she doesn't take this opportunity to marry into the Eastern Palace, how else could she ever marry into a prestigious family? It is like this. For her reputation and the avoiding suspicion he speaks of, I have to yield everything to this adopted daughter. Since the moment she entered the manor, I gave up my courtyard, I gave up my jewelry, and now even my marriage is being yielded away. It doesn't matter. Now, I don't even want this father anymore. I'll yield everything to her. But does father know? The emperor's selection of the Jiyu family's legitimate daughter to be the crown princess was never really about the Jiyu family itself. Father, what do you mean? You want me, the true legitimate daughter of the Jiyu family, to let an adopted daughter take my identity as the legitimate daughter and marry into the Eastern Palace as the crown princess? I looked at father in disbelief. Does he even know what he is saying? Father said with a dark face, "What do you mean by taking your identity? Qingguan is now registered under your mother's name. She is the legitimate eldest daughter of the Jiyu family. It is only right and proper for her to enter the palace as the crown princess." Registered under mother's name. When father first adopted Jiyu Qingguan and brought her home, he wanted to register her under mother's name, but mother refused. She explicitly stated that her only legitimate daughter was one, and there would never be a second. It didn't succeed back then. Now, just 1 year after mother passed away, he is already trying to rewrite history. Yuan, you were born the legitimate daughter, cherished and pampered since childhood. You don't understand Qingguan's hardships. She is an adopted daughter. If she cannot marry better than you, how would outsiders view our Jiyu family? Alas, they would say, I, this father, am unfair. Adopting a daughter is just for show. If the legitimate daughter marries the crown prince and the adopted daughter marries into a low family, wouldn't that prove I am a biased father? Moreover, her status is humble. This is a perfect opportunity. If she doesn't seize it to marry into the Eastern Palace, it will be hard for her to marry into a high family in the future. I laughed in anger, avoiding suspicion again. From the moment Jiyu Qingguan entered the Jiyu family gates, father used avoiding suspicion as an excuse, fearing people would call him biased, and forced me to yield in everything. Jiyu Qingguan is taller than me. Her courtyard had to be the best in the manor, so my courtyard was moved out to make room for her. Her jewelry had to be custom-made. The jewelry brought by the shops had to be chosen by her first. Father's care had to be given to her first. When father showed me even a little concern, he would talk about avoiding suspicion, fearing people would say he favored his biological daughter. That is why he has been extremely cold to me all these years, pouring all his affection onto Jiyu Qingguan. I have wondered more than once, who among us, Qingguan or I, is actually his biological daughter? He is biased every single time, but I never imagined that even the honor bestowed upon the Jiyu family by the emperor, designating the legitimate daughter as the crown princess, was something he would force me to give up. Jiyu Qingguan walked up timidly, wiping her eyes. Father, please don't be angry. Sister, I will not marry the crown prince. I give this marriage proposal to you. I will not be the crown princess. I know my status and standing. How could I ever be worthy of His Highness, the crown prince? Sister, please don't be angry. I'm not worthy of competing with you for anything. Being adopted by the Jiyu family is already a great grace. I dare not hope for anything more. Qingguan knew she was unworthy. After she finished speaking, tears fell like pearls. Her maid rushed out, shouting at me, "Second miss. Our eldest miss has always been cautious and humble, never daring to compete with you for anything. Now that master has made this decision for the marriage, do you still want to snatch it away?" Last time, because master gave the pearl hairpin you liked to the eldest miss, the eldest miss was afraid you would be angry, so she stayed up late to embroider the handkerchief you liked. Her fingers were frozen red and she didn't say a word of complaint. How can you be so heartless? You are competitive in everything, and you are better than our miss. She yields to you in everything. Can't you just yield to her once? She plopped onto her knees, weeping as she kowtowed to me. I beg you, second miss. Our eldest miss has had a hard life. Please let her have this one chance. This servant begs you. You know clearly that the eldest miss loves His Highness, the Crown Prince. Why must you snatch it away? Besides, the Crown Prince likes gentle and talented women. You only know how to wield swords and play with blades. The Crown Prince won't even look at you. Even if you marry him, the Crown Prince won't like you. After she finished, she kowtowed heavily again, and blood seeped out from her forehead. What a sharp-tongued maid. Helping her master rush out just to take a bite out of me. I was so angry my eyes turned red. Before I could respond, father shouted coldly, "Enough! Yuan, I never expected that while you act intimately in front of me, agreeing to get along well with your sister, you would act like this behind my back." If the maid hadn't spoken up, I wouldn't have known Qingguan suffered so many grievances. I have truly pampered you too much in the past, allowing you to become so lawless. Jiyu Qingguan hurriedly stepped forward to soothe father. Father, please don't be angry. Sister is still young. As her older sister, it's nothing for me to yield to her. It's just that sister doesn't like music, chess, calligraphy, or painting. I am afraid that if she enters the Eastern Palace, she will displease the Crown Prince. And wouldn't that be a disgrace to the Jiyu household? Still, you are the sensible one, knowing the gravity of the situation. Now, my mind is made up. The Crown Princes can only be Qingguan. After he finished, he looked at me coldly. Tomorrow, we enter the palace to express gratitude. When Qingguan receives the edict, do not cause any trouble. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. I took a step back. This is my biological father. The father who once pampered me like his life. The father who held me in his arms and taught me to ride horses and practice calligraphy. Now, his eyes are filled with a desperate determination to plot for the adopted daughter. I gave a cold laugh. Since that is the case, I shall grant their wish.
He thinks the emperor chose the Jiyu family's daughter for crown princess.
Because he favored the Jiyu family. How ridiculous. What the emperor valued was the maternal family behind the Jiyu family's legitimate daughter, the general who guards the state. The Jiang family controls 400,000 troops. If the crown prince has their support, the throne is secure. Now it just depends on whether the crown prince even wants this throne. The next day, entering the palace, Jiyu Yuan was dressed as the crown princess, walking with father in front of me. The emperor looked at father and Jiyu Qingguan kneeling in front, and asked, "Is this the legitimate daughter of Minister Jiyu?" I remember she seemed to be younger than this. Father smiled. Qingguan is the legitimate eldest daughter of the household. She usually doesn't go out much. She and Yuan are very close as sisters. Since Yuan is younger, there is an order of seniority. The marriage should naturally go to the elder sister first. The empress pondered for a moment and said, "Yuan, is what your father said true? Failing to distinguish between legitimate and illegitimate is a grave sin. In our royal family, it isn't a matter of who you want to marry off. You just marry off whoever you choose." Before I could speak, Jiyu Qingguan suddenly spoke up, her voice laced with tears. "Your Majesty, my sister is unwilling to say it. Because 10 days ago, when she went to the mountain to burn incense, she was abducted by bandits. Although she was rescued, her clothes were disheveled. Her sleeves were torn by the bandits, and they saw her body. Her purity is compromised, father, fearing that if she entered the Eastern Palace, she would humiliate the crown prince, said that I was the legitimate eldest daughter, letting me be the crown princess." What a compassionate fatherly heart. It was only to preserve my sister's reputation. No one outside the Jiyu family knows about this matter. I begged the emperor and the empress not to let anyone else find out. I was stunned. I didn't expect Jiyu Qingguan to dare lie so blatantly. Abducted by bandits? Seen her body? This plot is clearly a story from a newly released novel. Yet she is pinning it on me. You're lying, no matter what. In this world, a woman's purity is very important. Even if I don't care about it, I cannot let you tarnish my reputation like this. Jiyu Qingguan looked at me with tears flowing. Sister, you cannot spout such lies. Your purity is damaged. The crown princess must be someone of pure reputation. How can you, for the sake of a bit of vanity, tell lies in front of the empress? Even if you lost your purity, you are still a daughter of our Jiyu family. We will not abandon you. Just as I was about to refute, father interrupted what I was going to say. Kowtowing, Yuan was traumatized by this incident. She cannot bear for others to mention it. I beg the empress for forgiveness. The empress's expression softened, looking at Qingguan with satisfaction. Good child. You and your father are considering your sister's situation. That is very proper. Rest assured, this matter will not spread and ruin the second miss. Your Majesty, Empress, though I am not worthy to be the crown princess, my purity cannot be tarnished by others' lies. I was never abducted. At this moment, the crown prince Zhao Ming walked in and said loudly, Mother, I can testify to this matter. Yuan was indeed abducted, and it was Qingguan who sent people to ask for help, which happened to meet me. It was I who sent guards to save her back, and at that time, her clothes were indeed disheveled, and her sleeves were torn. Yuan, a woman's reputation is everything in this world, but you shouldn't lie and say your sister is framing you. She can also be considered your savior. How can you repay kindness with ingratitude? I always thought you were a noble woman. I never expected you to be someone who would slander your own sister, just for a bit of empty fame and vanity. Competing with others for a husband, is that what a noble woman does? I looked at Jiu Qingguan and the crown prince, the look in their eyes as they exchanged glances, and suddenly understood. So that was it. They had long been secretly involved, and had already pledged their lives to each other. That was why father wanted to give this marriage to the adopted daughter, and why the crown prince, disregarding his dignity as the future king, publicly helped Jiu Qingguan lie. How ridiculous. The noble consort was watching from the side, and at this moment she spoke up, looking at the emperor. Your Majesty, since it is like this, then let us go along with it. I see the crown prince is quite enamored with the eldest Miss Jiyu. Why must your Majesty play the role of the one breaking up a pair of lovers? The emperor sat with a dark face, saying nothing. The noble consort, however, was happy to see this. Anyway, the crown prince is the empress's son. If he wants to marry an adopted daughter and give up the daughter of the Jiyu family's legitimate line, she would do anything to make this happen. The crown prince took Jiyu Qingguan's hand and stepped forward, kneeling in the great hall to beg the emperor to grant them their wish. Father, I wish to marry Qingguan as my crown princess. That person who lost her purity is not worthy of entering my eastern palace. Otherwise, wouldn't the whole world laugh at me for marrying a woman with a stain? The future crown princess must be someone with a clean reputation like Qingguan. Older brother is wrong. Someone strode in. I turned my head to look. It was the third prince, Xiao En. He stood in front of the hall and said loudly, regardless of whether this matter is true or false, even if it were true, the second Miss Jiyu is still the victim. Just because a sleeve was torn, I became a woman with a tainted reputation? How was he innocent? The ones who are guilty are those villains. They destroy a woman's purity and yet remain unpunished, while it is these women who suffer and are driven to their deaths. Not only did your highness not speak a word for the girl, every single word you uttered was full of disdain and mockery for her lost innocence. I suddenly burst into laughter. I stood up. I, Jiyu, am pure in body and spirit. I don't care who wants to ruin my reputation, but wanting to use this to force me to my death is absolutely impossible. I was never kidnapped by any villains, but even if I had been, I would not feel ashamed of it. The ones who should be damned are not me. I looked at the crown prince with eyes full of disdain. Whoever I Jiyu Yuan choose to love, the love I give is always passionate and sincere, because I am good enough as I am, not because of how good the man I marry is. Those who do not understand me are not worthy of being my husband. I looked at the emperor and the empress, removed the jade pendant the empress had bestowed upon me from my waist, and respectfully handed it over. This is the jade pendant Her Majesty granted to the Jiang family years ago. My grandfather gifted it to me, although the engagement to the crown prince was only a verbal agreement. Now that things have changed, Yuan returns this pendant to the crown prince so he may find his true love. Your subject wishes for my sister and the crown prince to grow old together, living in mutual respect and harmony. The Empress's face turned awkward. She was the one who bestowed the jade to win over the Jiang family. Now that her son has ascended to the position of crown prince, she has forgotten, without the Jiang family, whether her son could even maintain his position as the heir. She suddenly regretted agreeing to let the crown prince marry Jiyu Qingguan. What future could an adopted daughter possibly have? Behind her, there is only the insignificant Jiyu family. What kind of support can they offer? But since things have come to this, she also had to step down. She took the jade pendant and said gently, "I shall take back the jade pendant, and I grant you one wish. Tell me when you have decided." Jiyu Qingguan tugged at the crown prince and whispered, "Sister." The crown prince whispered back, "After our grand wedding, we will take you into the East Palace as a concubine." After all, with how you are now, I'm afraid no one else will come to propose. The third prince stepped forward. "Father, your son does not yet have a principal consort, and I believe the second Miss Jiyu is worthy of being a lady of high status, with a courage and insight that is remarkable. I specifically request, Father, to betroth the second Miss Jiyu to me as my principal consort." The emperor was stunned and looked at him. "An heir, do you not mind the second Miss Gus's reputation?" The third prince smiled. "What use is such a fabricated reputation? Your son believes the second Miss Jiyu is excellent." Noble consort Su covered her mouth and laughed. "Your Majesty, an heir must have inherited the straightforward nature of his grandfather. He doesn't care about these baseless rumors. He is direct and sincere. I also think the second Miss Jiyu is excellent. Noble consort Su's father is the great general. She comes from a military background." The emperor smiled slightly. "An heir has a broad mind, shows responsibility, and I am very pleased. This marriage is approved. I shall betroth the second Miss Jiyu to you. Anyway, as long as the Jiang family supports him, the emperor is happy regardless of which son they support." Only the empress's face turned black as a pot. Father hurriedly came forward. "Your Majesty, you cannot. My daughter's reputation is tainted. I fear she is unworthy of the third prince. If the third prince insists on marrying, a concubine status is more than enough." I looked at Father in total disappointment, my heart cold and desolate. "Father, in your eyes, is it true that only Jiyu Qingguan is your daughter?" "I have never seen a father insist so stubbornly that his own daughter's reputation is ruined. You do not believe your own daughter's words, yet you blindly believe the words of an adopted one. Is it because you fear people will say you are biased, so you must distance yourself? Since that is the case, daughter will satisfy your need for reputation. From now on, you shall only be her father." I knelt down and looked at the empress. "Your Majesty, I have decided on my wish, may I? Your subject wishes to leave the family and establish my own household. I implore your Majesty to grant this." As soon as I spoke, even the emperor was stunned. Father shouted, "Unfilial daughter! Do you know what you are saying? I am still alive. Establishing your own household is absolutely impossible." I said coldly, "Father, do you forbid it? Are you even worthy of being a father? From the moment Jiyu Qingguan entered the Jiyu family, your heart has only held Jiyu Qingguan. Usually you are biased toward her," and I said nothing. "But how precious is a woman's virtue? Yet to help her become the crown princess, you did not hesitate to ruin my reputation to fulfill her desires. For such a father, why should I still acknowledge him?" Father turned red. "It was clearly you who ruined your own reputation. How can you say I ruined it?" Qingguan spoke very clearly. "She saw with her own eyes you being kidnapped, and in the end it was the crown prince who saved you." I laughed aloud. "Jiyu Qingguan, tell me, on what day and what time was I kidnapped when we went to Jingshan? And when was I rescued?" Jiyu Qingguan hesitated for a moment. Stammering, "It was when we set out last month. I went to Jingshan with you. Later you were kidnapped, and were only rescued by the crown prince's guards in the middle of the night." I sneered. "On the 8th of last month, I went to Jingshan with you. But halfway there, you said you had a headache and turned back to the manor. I met the daughter of the Minister of Rites and helped her transcribe scriptures at the temple. I returned quite late. You only heard that there were villains on the mountain road that day. So you falsely accuse me to ruin my reputation. Your Majesty, you only need to send someone to the Minister of Right's residence to verify this. I do not know why my sister wanted to frame me, nor do I know why the Crown Prince helped my sister tell such lies. I am righteous and have nothing to fear, for a straight shadow does not fear a crooked path. However, I cannot let you make such baseless accusations. The Emperor slammed the table. Jiyu Qingguan. Zhao Ming is what second Miss Jiyu said true. Jiyu Qingguan fell to her knees with a thud. She trembled in fear. The Crown Prince also knelt down.
He raised his head to look at the Emperor and Empress.
Father, Mother, Qingguan had no other choice. She is only an adopted daughter. If Yuan's reputation were not tarnished, how could she take her place to marry into the Eastern Palace? She only wished to be with your son. I beg Father to forgive us. The third prince let out a cold laugh. Your Highness, for your own selfish desires, you would go so far as to ruin a woman's reputation. It is truly disgraceful. The Emperor looked at Father with disappointment. Everyone says you are a man of integrity, treating an adopted daughter as well as your own legitimate daughter. But looking at it now, that is not the case. You clearly favor your adopted daughter, while showing disrespect to your legitimate one. A woman's purity is a matter of life and death, yet you chose to listen only to the adopted daughter's side of the story. It is no wonder second Miss Jiyu is so disheartened. Jiyu Yuan, since the Empress promised you a wish, if you wish to remove yourself from the Jiyu family and establish your own household, the Empress and I shall grant it. The Emperor's words are absolute. What is said cannot be taken back. Everyone was stunned. I was overwhelmed with joy. I cowed out to express my gratitude to your Majesty and Her Majesty the Empress. As for Jiyu Qingguan, because she groundlessly slandered her own sister, she caused the marriage arrangement between me and the Crown Prince to fall into turmoil. It displeased the Emperor and the Empress. The Empress said with a stern face, the Crown Princess must be righteous and benevolent. Jiyu Qingguan's conduct does not befit a principal wife. Crown Prince, if you insist on marrying her, she can only be a concubine, not a wife. Otherwise, the people of the world will laugh at us. Jiyu Qingguan collapsed onto the floor. I smiled. Every cause has its effect. She and Father had acted out such a long performance, yet now she had ended up in such a state. She could only enter the Eastern Palace as a secondary concubine to the Crown Prince. We left the palace. The moment we entered the residence, Father struck me hard across the face with a slap. You wretch, you ruined your sister's marriage. Are you very proud of yourself? How could I have raised such a thing like you? I covered my face. My cheek immediately became red and swollen. I looked at him with dead eyes, mocking my filial piety as if looking at a dead person. How laughable. I ruined her marriage proposal. How is it that this marriage proposal wasn't originally meant for me? Father? Do you truly think His Majesty wants to grant the Jiyu family a crown prince's title? Because of the Jiyu family's noble lineage? You still don't understand even now. What His Majesty wants is the support of the Zhang family. It has nothing to do with the Jiyu family. Jiyu Qingguan, your good days are yet to come. Just wait and see. What happens when the Empress and the Crown Prince lose the support of the Zhang family? I wonder how much he must hate you. Father, you are furious enough to scheme against your own father? You have a lot of nerve. Bring the rattan whip. I am going to beat her to death. Father's face turned pale with rage. He took the whip handed over by the servant. Disrespecting his elder, he lost his senses. A long whip suddenly caught Father's whip. I want to see who dares to touch a single hair on my granddaughter. A majestic voice echoed from outside. I turned my head to look. My eyes turned red. It's grandfather. He rushed in, leading my uncle and a group of guards. Grandfather and uncle were still in their full armor, travel-worn and weary. Clearly, they had rushed to the capital immediately after receiving my letter. My eyes brimmed with tears as I threw myself into grandfather's arms. Grandfather's tears fell like rolling beads. Having been wronged by father for so long, I had never cried once. But now, seeing grandfather, my tears finally began to fall. My poor Yuan, you have been wronged. Do not be afraid. Your mother is no longer here. But your grandfather and uncle are here to support you. I want to see who dares to bully you. Father has always feared grandfather. If it weren't for marrying the daughter of the Jiang family back then, how would he have had the resources and connections to rise to such a high position? Even though he is a high-ranking official now, he still has to be careful and humble in front of grandfather. Now that he saw grandfather, he hurried forward, father-in-law. Grandfather let out a cold snort. I'm not worthy of being your father-in-law. Father-in-law, this rattan whip is something even a man cannot withstand. Yet you intended to use it on Yuan, a weak girl. Your heart as a father is truly vicious. Father looked at grandfather and my uncles with a sullen face. You ignore right and wrong and only favor Yuan. That is exactly how you have spoiled her. My daughter is gone, leaving Yuan behind. She is my daughter, yet she has been treated like this. Do you still hold me, her grandfather, in any regard? Uncle stood aside, swinging the whip. If we hadn't arrived just in time, this whip would have landed on Yuan, wouldn't it? This rattan whip is something even a man cannot withstand. Yet you intended to use it on Yuan, a weak girl? Your heart as a father is truly vicious. Father looked at grandfather and uncle with a dark expression. You ignore right from wrong, only favoring Yuan. It is precisely because of this that she is spoiled. Now she is disrespectful to her elders, has no regard for her superiors, speaks nonsense before His Majesty, caused her elder sister to lose her position, has repeatedly defied me, her father, and even wants to establish her own household. Although she is the granddaughter of the Jiang family, she is still my daughter of the Jiyu family. I am going to punish her. Does your Jiang family still have a say in my affairs, Jiyu Fu? Does he even realize that she has repeatedly defied me as her father and wants to set up her own household? It is only right that I use the family law to punish her. Uncle was so angry his face turned pale. What a fine master, Jiyu, flaunting your authority over your own daughter. I want to see, now that we are here, you dare try to touch her. Father stared at me fiercely, Yuan. Father is punishing you today. You must apologize to your sister. I held my head high and replied, you can acknowledge me, but His Majesty has granted my request to leave the Jiyu family, to establish my own household. From this day forward, I shall take my mother's surname, Jiang, and have no further ties with your Jiyu family. Father let out a cold snort. Don't think that just because the Jiang family is backing you. I'm telling you, you think you can just leave and establish a new household. Do you dare? If you step out of this gate today, you are no longer a member of the Jiyu family. If you do not apologize to your sister, from now on I will no longer recognize you as my daughter, and you shall never return. Jiyu Qingguan hurriedly stepped forward to comfort father. Please, don't get so angry. It's bad for your health. I don't need her apology. I know my status. How could I be worthy of being her sister? She looked at me and said, My Mei, father's health is poor. Please, don't provoke father's anger anymore. Hurry and make amends to father. No, please, don't quarrel because of me anymore, she said while weeping. If father ruins his health because of this, I could never be forgiven even if I died 100 times. If it could bring peace to the family, I am willing to leave and never come back. Watching her hypocritical act, I couldn't help but sneer. She puts on this performance every single day. This trick is always so effective on father. As expected, upon hearing her words, father flew into a rage. Who says you're leaving? Who dares to let you leave? You are my Jiyu Chang'an's own daughter. My heart ached, and tears fell. I looked at my grandfather and uncle. His Majesty has granted me permission to establish my own household. I am leaving the Jiyu family today. From now on, I will follow my mother's surname, Jiang. My name is Jiang Yuan. Grandfather and uncle shouted loudly, Well done. Truly a descendant of my Jiang family. Let's go, come home with grandfather. I requested to leave the Jiyu family, and the news of me establishing my own household spread everywhere. Meanwhile, Jiyu Qingguan's framing of her sister led to her being demoted to a concubine of the crown prince by the empress. This also became a hot topic among the noble families, calling an adopted daughter a legitimate daughter, just like that. To think she even dared to frame the second miss, she really has no shame. I wonder what Master Jiyu is thinking. To actually favor an adopted daughter and not help his own daughter. Absurd, he must have lost his mind. The imperial decree betrothing me to the third prince soon reached the Zhang family. The wedding was set for the 8th day of the 6th lunar month. Coincidentally, the crown prince's wedding to Jiu Qingguan was set for the day before ours. I suppose Qingguan just wants to snatch everything ahead of me. I thought I wouldn't see Jiu Qingguan again. But at Lady Dingguo's flower viewing banquet, I saw her once more. The crown prince brought her to the banquet. Her attire was more conspicuous than any other noble lady present. By the crown prince's side, she held her head high, looking utterly arrogant. I wonder what the crown prince promised her to make her so pleased with herself. Sure enough, seeing me sitting with the noble ladies in the back garden, she walked right up to me. My Mei, father says he has something to ask you. Mother's dowry has all been taken away, but I am currently listed under mother's name. Father said, that dowry should also have half belonging to me. I ask that you sort through the dowry list, my Mei, and have half of it sent back to the estate. That is my dowry, after all. Everyone was stunned by her shamelessness. My mother's dowry, she, an adopted daughter, actually had the gall to come and demand a share of the dowry. I laughed in anger, Jiu Qingguan. Is the Jiu family so poor you can't even afford a meal? That you've come to me to beg for favors? What do you think you are? An adopted daughter, demanding a share of the dowry my mother left for me? Are you worthy? Crown Prince Xiaoming walked over from behind. He looked at me with an expression of disapproval. Second Miss Jiu, watch your tongue, Qingguan. Though she is soft-hearted, she is still your sister. Do not bully her. Everyone knows, since she is registered under your mother's name, she is a legitimate daughter of the Jiu family. The dowry of a legitimate mother should naturally be hers to choose from first. How can you justify taking it all for yourself? A smiling voice came from behind the crown prince. I didn't expect the crown prince to have such an interest, that you would even meddle in a woman's dowry. It was the third prince, Xiao En. He stepped up onto the terrace, stood beside me, and pulled me behind him. He looked at the crown prince with a gaze as piercing as a blade. Your Highness, the crown prince, you are the heir to the throne. Yet you step forward for a concubine to snatch a dowry. Are you not afraid of becoming a laughingstock? Moreover, my princess has already established her own household, and has no further ties to the Jiu family. What? Did the crown prince not hear it clearly in the Great Hall that day? Or is the Eastern Palace lacking silver recently, that you've resorted to squeezing money from a woman's dowry? The third prince's words made everyone burst into laughter. How hilarious! An adopted daughter actually daring to snatch a dowry. Is she poverty-stricken to the point of madness? She has already established her own household. Master Jiu is truly distinguished, sending someone to someone's doorstep to beg for a dowry. How is this any different from panhandling? The crown prince is also quite uncouth to step forward for a concubine and snatch the dowry of the third prince's consort. How could he have the nerve? The crown prince listened to the gossip, his face turning red and white. Gritting his teeth, he took Jiu Qingguan and snuck away. Zhao and brought me into the garden to talk. Recently, the crown prince has failed in his duties, snatching several pieces of precious jade. Hei's been using money everywhere to grease palms. His hands are tight for silver. I reckon Jiu Qingguan wants to curry favor with him and use your dowry to fill his financial hole. The crown prince's embezzlement of the Jiangnan disaster relief funds was reported by someone.
His Majesty has already discovered it.
A shortfall of hundreds of thousands of silver taels. I see him scrambling everywhere to find silver. I'll give him a gentle nudge. When Hei's desperate, Hei's bound to make a mistake. Keep a close watch on the third prince. We will surely catch him in the act. When it comes to dealing with the crown prince, our interests are absolutely aligned. After the marriage was settled, the noble consort often summoned me to the palace for tea. On this day, I left the palace a bit late. I ran into Crown Prince Xiaoming. He blocked my carriage, Yuan. Why did you agree to marry my third brother? He is nearly the son of a consort. In the commoner's eyes, he is just an illegitimate son. How could you possibly marry him? You clearly had a marriage contract with me. The emperor was supposed to grant you to me in marriage. I let out a laugh, filled with disdain. Is that so? But your highness, you yourself said it, that the one you love is Jiyu Qingguan, that you intend to make her your wife. He hurriedly replied, no, that's not it. I have thought it through. The one I love is you. I can speak to mother and ask His Majesty to rescind the marriage decree. Shall we have him grant us our marriage instead? I dropped my smile, your highness. You regret it now, but it is already too late. I am to marry the third prince very soon. Your highness, please mind your words. After all, a woman's reputation is of the utmost importance. If you continue to harass me like this, I fear the people's livelihoods in Yuan will suffer once again. After saying this, I pulled my hand away and boarded the carriage. He tried to pursue me. The sound of horse hooves came from behind. Your Highness Crown Prince, please do not trouble yourself with escorting my fiancé any further. His Majesty was just summoning you earlier to ask about the disaster relief in the Jiangnan region. Since the Crown Prince has the time to pester someone else's fiancé, you should instead think about how to answer His Majesty's reprimands. The Crown Prince sold off your own properties. You even exhausted the resources of the Empress's maternal family. Even the Imperial Secretariat and the Treasury were nearly emptied. Only then did you finally cover that deficit of over 100,000. You failed to reach an agreement with the officials. The Emperor nearly issued a decree to depose the Crown Prince. The Eastern Palace is now suddenly strapped for cash. On the day of the grand wedding, the procession for the Crown Prince to marry, Qingguan was so meager. It was not even as grand as a common wealthy family taking in a concubine. Jiyu Qingguan was carried away in nothing but a small sedan chair. The Jiyu family had originally boasted about it extensively, and many nobles hoping to associate themselves with the Crown Prince went to the Jiyu residence to offer their congratulations. They had intended to hold a grand banquet, thinking they would be able to catch a glimpse of the Crown Prince. Who would have thought that, despite the Jiyu family's lavish banquet, they did not even get to see the Crown Prince's face? The Crown Prince merely sent people with a sedan chair to fetch the bride. He had Jiyu Qingguan placed in the sedan chair, ending the affair hastily. The Jiyu family's disgrace was known to all. Father had originally assumed he would become the Crown Prince's father-in-law, but he never expected that the Crown Prince did not hold the Jiyu family in any regard at all. Furthermore, all the betrothal gifts given by the third prince back then were all sent over as part of the dowry. The noble consort was incredibly smug. The Crown Prince has taken the Grand General's granddaughter as his wife. He specifically bestowed many gifts upon me to add to my dowry, and even coaxed the Emperor into bestowing a jade ruyi, placed at the very front of the dowry. It was incredibly prestigious. A truly grand procession stretching for miles. Magnificent and lively. Disregarding that she had only been married for one day, Jiyu Qingguan followed the Crown Prince to the third prince's residence. The bridal chamber was filled with noble ladies joining in the fun to see the bride. Yet, looking at the room full of rare jewels, Jiyu Qingguan's eyes turned red with extreme jealousy. She thought of her own cold, desolate little courtyard. The Crown Prince had said that, after all, she was only a secondary concubine, so it wouldn't be appropriate to be too extravagant. Once the Crown Princess enters the residence in the future, it wouldn't do to overshadow her. You only need to know that you are the one in my heart, and that is enough. But what use did Jiyu Qingguan have for this useless sincerity? What she had always wanted was glory and wealth. Jiyu Qingguan watched the third prince in his bridegroom's robes, sitting by my side. Wearing my phoenix coronet and ceremonial robes, I completed the hairdying ritual with him. That room filled with solemn, bright red made her bite her lip until it bled. Meanwhile, the Crown Prince, drunk at the banquet, grabbed Jiyu Yuan, who had come to support him, and mumbled dazedly, Yuan, you look so beautiful today. I have finally married you as my Crown Princess. I promised that I would surely marry you. This scared the servants tending to him out of their wits. If others were to hear such words, it would be a disaster. But it was too late to cover his mouth. These words had already been overheard by the officials nearby. Jiyu Qingguan was humiliated and furious. She burst into tears in front of everyone. His Highness only thinks of Yuan. Does he have any regard for me at all? The nanny beside the Crown Prince was scared to death, hurriedly supporting the Crown Prince away while whispering advice. I heard that the Eastern Palace was turned upside down that night, so much so that even the Empress was alarmed. The next day, I went with Zhao En to the palace to pay respects to the emperor and the noble consort. I saw the crown prince and Jiu Qingguan kneeling before the throne. The emperor was still scolding the heir to the nation for acting like a madman while drunk, asking how he could face the court officials. "You have completely brought shame upon me. From this day forth, the crown prince is grounded in the Eastern Palace for 3 months. Without an imperial decree, you are not allowed to step out." After the third prince and I were married, the emperor entrusted him with several tasks, which he handled quite properly. He gradually gained prestige among the court officials. With the help and maneuvering of my maternal grandfather, in no time at all, Zhao En began to show signs of standing on equal footing with the crown prince in court. With the crown prince grounded, the empress was extremely anxious and began scouting for a crown princess in the outer court. Jiu Qingguan, being grounded with the crown prince, was naturally unaware of this. However, I bribed the young eunuch who delivered food to the Eastern Palace. While chatting, I made sure news of the empress choosing a crown princess reached Jiu Qingguan's ears. I heard that her personal maid found a way to leave the palace and bought some potent medicinal herbs at a pharmacy. Upon hearing this, I pursed my lips and smiled. Jiu Qingguan must be planning to stake everything on one throw. If she could conceive the emperor's grandson, he probably thinks he can gamble one more time. Zhao En, under the pretext of trying to relieve the crown prince's boredom, sent many beauties into the Eastern Palace. Jiu Qingguan could not even touch the crown prince's hem. Zhao En's secret agents reported back at night, saying that in the crown prince's concubine's room, there sounded like a man's voice. I smiled. Jiu Qingguan is truly daring, wanting to swap a cat for a crown prince. But once she is pregnant, that will be the end of her life. Because my maternal grandfather had a close friendship with the head imperial physician. It is said that after a bout of drunkenness, the head imperial physician revealed that the crown prince had been injured while hunting 3 years ago, sustaining an injury to his lower body. Although he can still perform his duties, he is likely unable to father children. This was no secret in the Imperial Physician Academy. Anyone who had taken the crown prince's pulse knew of it. But who would dare to speak?
He is, after all, the crown prince.
When news of Jiu Qingguan's pregnancy spread, the emperor and empress were overjoyed. They lifted the crown prince's house arrest, and a stream of rewards was sent into the Eastern Palace. Jiu Qingguan was promoted to Lady Ling. But the rumors that the crown prince was infertile soon spread through the capital, saying the crown prince had long been injured, and it was impossible for him to have heirs. The rumors quickly reached the palace. The emperor was furious and ordered a thorough investigation. He also summoned the head imperial physician for questioning. Upon learning the truth, the emperor slumped onto the dragon throne. The empress turned deathly pale, muttering to herself, "How is this possible? How could my son be?" When the crown prince found out, he smashed everything in the Eastern Palace. He was frantic. "I am the crown prince. I am the heir. If you don't cure me, I will have all of you executed and imprisoned." Then, with bloodshot eyes, he looked at Jiu Qingguan, who was vomiting. "I cannot have children. Whose bastard is in your belly?" He grabbed Jiu Qingguan and shouted, "Whose bastard is this child?" Jiu Qingguan was terrified, pale as a sheet. She collapsed to the floor, unable to utter a single word. By the time the servants rushed in, Jiu Qingguan had already breathed her last. This matter could not be concealed. The court officials submitted memorials requesting to depose the crown prince and to crown the third prince in his stead. The edict to depose the crown prince was issued very quickly. What use is an heir who has no love for the people of the world and is cruel and vicious? The third prince, Zhao En, was named crown prince, and I became the crown princess. When father heard the news that Jiu Qingguan had passed away, the crown prince had been deposed, and the first had ascended to the position of crown princess. He vomited blood several times, falling into a coma. It is said that his days are numbered. While he was still conscious for the last time, I went to see him one final time. Father, rest in peace. I have already had mother's grave moved and interred with the Jiang family. You and your daughter will be buried in your Jiu family plot after you die. Rest assured, Jiu Qingguan committed adultery with an outsider, corrupting the royal bloodline. She didn't even leave a whole corpse. I hope that when you see her in the afterlife, You can still recognize her. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, my husband and I will go to the ancestral temple to worship tomorrow. By tomorrow, we will be the true crown prince and crown princess. What a pity. This glory has nothing to do with your GU family anymore. I pushed the door open and walked out. Behind me, I heard the sound of things being smashed, and servants screaming that the master had passed, but I did not stop my pace. I walked out of the GU manor. Outside, Jia-en was waiting for me. He smiled and reached out to support me. The grand ceremony is tomorrow. You should get some good rest. Don't worry about me. I held his hand tightly. Yes. Your Highness.